Story time. So, there's a chunk of you out there that are wondering what the heck is going on. This video is going to give you some answers if you feel like listening. It's probably going to give you a lot more questions. I certainly have a lot more questions than I do answers. But nonetheless, I joined the industry a few years back, a couple years. I was in a situation that was not ideal. I've considered different types of sex work throughout my life. I've dipped my toes in different things here and there. Some things really didn't work for me. Some things were okay. Like camming, I am not a cam girl. I will never be a cam girl. I don't like that environment at all. Not for me. But I'd never really done or stuck with anything seriously up until the point at which I decided I was going to try to make porn. I definitely have other life goals and pursuits that I would very much want to do. Porn is definitely not like, this is my dream job and the most important thing in the world to me, like that I want to do. Of course not. I'd be lying if I said it was. And that's the topic of today's conversation, by the way, lying. That's a good chunk of it. I'll come back around to that. I do like making porn under the right circumstances and context. I have learned throughout my time now that the context and especially the people that I work with matters, and it matters a lot to whether or not I find this to be an enjoyable career or downright awful. So that's going to change a lot of how I go moving forward. I'm going to be far more discriminatory in who I film with, and perhaps that's a bad word because that sounds like really negative, but I just want to make sure that I am filming with people where we have a good vibe both ways, both connections, where it's fun and enjoyable for everybody, and that there's at least some level of genuine interest and genuine enjoyment of sex and sexuality, whatever we're doing, and that it is not all purely acting, because I've certainly encountered a lot of people where I feel like it is all entirely and incredibly fake. And while I understand that to some extent porn is going to be performative because you're performing for the camera, you have to be aware of an angle and whatnot and things and ways that work with the camera. You have to have lighting that works with the camera. Like a nice ambiance probably isn't going to show up so well on film that you might like to have in your personal life. So to some extent, of course, porn is always going to be performative, and I know that, but I want and or need some sort of base level connection, spark, mutual interest, for it to be an enjoyable experience for me. And if it's not, then that's going to show up on camera, and that's exactly what I want to avoid. The whole reason I got into doing porn, or at least one of the missions that I wanted to achieve, was to create porn that was more authentic, and that catered a bit more to the feminine gaze too. I really wanted porn that was about the intimacy and connection between the partners. And so if you guys have been following what's been going on my page at all, then I'm sure you probably have some questions. I work solo, and I also wanted to work with other people and to collab, in particular with my partner. And when I agreed to enter the porn industry, there were definitely some less than ideal circumstances in my life that made me feel like I didn't have a ton of different options. I know that I made the choice to join the industry. I made it of my own free will. I was not coerced. It was my choice. I did, however, feel, because of the entirety of circumstances in my life at that time, that my options were kind of limited. I didn't feel like I had a lot of career options. So that does play into it. Certainly, if I was in a situation where I could do whatever the heck I wanted, porn probably wouldn't have been my first choice. But nonetheless, I wanted to do it. I chose to do it. So I really want to make sure that that is clear, because I know that I can be a very emotional person. I feel very strong emotions, and I process by talking. That's a very, very big, important part of how I process my emotions. I do struggle with alexithymia, so a lot of times I'm feeling things, but I don't know what they are until I start to talk it out. And sometimes I will say things, and they will be meaner than I intended or worse than they, but as I process, as I work through it, as I come back, I'm like, well, maybe I didn't fully mean that, or maybe that spun a little bit more negatively than it really was, or maybe there's also this component that I didn't even consider that was playing. But talking is how I process. So I want to be clear, because I know I've said some things and I don't want to paint anybody in the wrong light. And it's really hard not to, because I also don't want to be inauthentic and not speak my truth, because I've done that in the past, and that is harmful to my body and mind. And I don't want to feel like I have to repress But I also don't want to harm other people either. So to be very careful and being able to speak my mind as I want, but also understand that, especially when I'm talking about other people, that what I say affects them. And so this is a big part of why I want to have this whole talk. If you're still listening, because I wanted to be clear that porn was my decision. Having done it though, now I've learned a lot and a lot of things have changed. I want to be super, super clear. Personal accountability. I take personal accountability. Got that part out of the way. I'll reiterate it as many times as necessary. It was my choice. I know that. However, when I joined the industry, I did a lot of research. It was not on a whim. I didn't just do it out of nowhere. I went and met a lot of people. I talked to a lot of people in the industry. I talked to people online. I met people in person. I met people all different types of areas of the industry. I met people who work predominantly in studio. I met people who are more independent creators. I met people who escort. I met a whole variety of women, and I talked to them, and in some cases, I felt like we were building rapport, maybe even the beginning of a friendship. And I used a lot of that information to influence the decision that I ultimately made to go ahead and do porn. And more importantly for me, to collab with other people, because I think that's the part I probably wouldn't have done very much of. But I was heavily influenced that I must collab with people. It's the only way you're gonna be successful. It's the only way you're gonna grow. You have to film with them so that they tag you, and then when they tag you, other people will see you and follow you, and that's how you're gonna grow your social media and how you're gonna get fans, and you absolutely have to film with other people or you're just never gonna succeed. And in that same whatever, being told that, I'm also being told it's totally safe if you follow these rules, if you get the TTS testing, if you only use, the 14-day window, if you make sure you scan the barcode or you watch them log in, like not actually watch them type in their password, but you see that they've logged in and scroll the screen on their testing. So you minimize the chance of getting fooled by a fake. By not accepting screenshots. I did the things, I learned the things, I followed the rules, all of it, and I was told, so safe, so safe. So many people said, I've been in the industry for X amount of years and I've never had a single STD, not one STD, not one. And in addition to being oh so safe, there's oh so much money. I'm going to make all kinds of money. These women saying that they, good money. These conversations contributed to my decision making. And a lot of it I've come to find out was just downright lies. And it really hurts because I know that there's this sense of like people catering to just the general public. We all want to look good on social media. We always want to put our best foot forward. We don't want to, not right now because I'm clearly just filmed rather spontaneously with no effort to look good. But generally speaking, like we try to put our best foot forward as much as we can, and we want to look good. And I understand that people want to save face. No one's just gonna go say all the most negative stuff voluntarily to the public to be judged by. But in these conversations one-on-one with people that I thought were starting to become my friends, I kind of would have expected a little bit more honesty. And it really hurt. It really hurt. I felt like a knife to the back that once I joined the porn industry, what I actually found was that I got STDs immediately. And I was tested right before I joined the industry. I actually happened to know about Mycoplasma genitalium just because I am a very educated human being and I try to be thorough and I care about my health, and I've always been I've always maintained my sexual health and tested regularly and taken every precaution that I could. So I can confidently say going into the industry that I knew I did not have any of these STDs that I then acquired. Because everybody just is like so quick to be like, no, the industry's so safe. Everybody, if we follow these tests and you just don't get STDs and it's so much safer than the general population. And I know there are actually studies on this, but it seems like they are lacking nuance in the fact that they don't tend to account for the fact that testing does not cover herpes, type 1 or type 2. Testing does not cover any of the HPVs, some of which can cause warts, some of which can cause cancer. You're just full-on free exposure to those things by countless people who could potentially have them. That's not safe. That's not as safe as everybody's making it out to be. And I get really frustrated. I am frustrated, and I guess I feel hurt because of just being given these very inaccurate stories, because it seems like women in the industry feel like they have to defend it and they have to say all these good things about it, and they can't really, I think this is just my hunch, but like people don't feel like they can actually say, well, actually there are all these negative things, and actually we do get STDs, it does happen, and it fucking sucks, but it does happen. And instead they just want to lie and say, oh, no, 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 everything's fine, it's safe, da, 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 da. And when you tell someone, like I was, like me, a few years ago, and everybody's telling me these things that they know are not true, I'm assuming I could just be an outlier. I could just be this random outlier who, has struggled with these issues despite following all the protocols, and everybody else can magically just like never get an STD in their entire porn industry career ever, and then like go out and do, yeah, it could be, but I don't think that's the truth. I think that there is lying that is being happening, because especially when I do start to talk about it, a lot of these girls will then come, behind closed doors and be like, well, actually, this did happen to me, but I don't want to tell people, but like, actually, it did happen to me too. And I think that this is bad, because if we all know that maybe we don't all know, but at least, let's say lots of us do know that this information isn't fully accurate that's being relayed to the public, and then convincing other girls to then go join the industry, and then they have bad consequences, and then we say, it's your fault, you made the decision, it's all on you. But where's the accountability for those of us in the industry who are constantly presenting a fake front of all of the positives and negatives and none of the negatives, and there's no accountability for how that can influence other people to join the industry, unaware of the true extent of the risks? And I have a problem with that. And it especially hurt because I thought I was building a friendship with these people. And the STD thing, like, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Because a lot of the lies I've come to find out is like money related, right? The money thing. Especially when the money's like, it's not even coming from porn. They're doing other things that probably aren't illegal. And then they're laundering it in their porn money. And to lie to my face and say, no, you can make so much money doing all this porn, when they know that's not where their money's actually coming from. They have now helped contribute to making me think that this is a viable career, and making the choice to join it, and then being injured or hurt or whatever, having these bad things happen based on lies. And there's no accountability. None. And I decided today, right now, here, spontaneously, I'm not going to be that person. I'm not going to always give this manufactured fake front and lie by omission, because I don't want to be the reason some other girl like me someday goes and joins the industry because they're confident there's all this money, because they're confident it's so safe, because of all of these things that they were told that were lies. I'm not going to do to those people what I'm not going to contribute to that. So I can say, I understand I'm in a place of privilege to be able to be open. Like, I joined the industry and I did get an STD, and it's fucking sucked, and it's scary, and it brought down my sense of self-worth, and it made me feel bad. Like, it was just a horrible experience. And I felt like, I can't talk to anybody because everybody lies and hides about it. Like, oh, I'm not coming to the next Exotica because I sprained my ankle. Like, come on now, just say the freaking truth, right? At least amongst each other, couldn't we be honest? Because that would bring down the stigma. But when we continue to lie to each other, even, oh, I'm canceling this shoot because I got a cough, knowing that they popped hot for MGen or whatever, we're just making it worse. And we're just adding to the problem. And we become a part of the problem. And all of that is to say, this whole big blow up I've had online lately is because I've had a lot to process dealing with the circumstances. I contracted HPV immediately when I joined the industry. I had hoped that my body would clear it on its own. It did not. It did become cancerous. We've just now confirmed it's benign. But this has been absolutely horrifying, terrifying, scary experience of not knowing first whether or not it was actually going to be cancerous, how cancerous, what's the next step, what are they going to do, like even just getting a biopsy, like going in there and cutting some very sensitive, important parts of my body, not fun. So I'm okay, and I'm going to be okay. But nobody talks about that this is a really real reality and you can do everything by the book like you're told, and this can still happen. I had the HPV shot, the vaccine, but it didn't protect against this particular strain. Like, they don't talk about that there are strains with warts, that people could be, I could have gotten a strain with warts. That could have been a thing. And all of that has contributed to me really reevaluating how I'm going to move forward and what I'm going to do. Unfortunately, because it's not just me, because I'm also a partner in a couple, that this affects our joint career as well. And I've had different opinions now than I did in the beginning, and I don't know what it's going to be going forward. I don't know what I am going to do. Some things I probably won't do anymore. I don't know. It's this big giant question mark. But I think it's important to say it's okay to change my mind. I did agree to certain things in the beginning based on knowledge that turned out to be not accurate. And now new knowledge has come forward, and now I have more information about what the industry is really like, and I don't know if I want to keep doing it, or I certainly don't think I want to continue in the capacity that I was before, so I need to reevaluate. And that is kind of led to some fighting and some frustrations with my partner, so I just wanted to be really clear. I know the choices that I made. I know that I'm accountable for the choices that I made. But I also know, in light of this information, I'm probably going to make some different choices, and that's okay. We're okay. It's okay to change your mind. We're allowed to change our mind. It's not a bad thing that I said I would do this, and now I'm saying I don't think I want to do that anymore. That's okay. So, yeah, I wanted to clear the air on that, but I want to give you a heads up, because if I continue to post, my content's going to change. I'm going to try to be far more balanced and present both good things and negative things, or less good things. Try to just be more authentic and open so that I'm not contributing to painting this false picture of what the industry is really like, because I don't want to do that. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens.